My great grandma always said to have some extra drawers and some extra clothes in your car just in case you mess up on yourself. And I might need it today interacting with these animals.
You see them hogs? Have y'all been looking at them hogs?
No!
There's hogs!
I don't know what Buddy over here is doing, but look like he itching. Hello world, welcome to another episode of My Happy People. We are here today in Mooresville, North Carolina at the Legends 5 Ranch, and I have a very special guest with me, Jennifer Demme, and we're here today to talk about her life journey as a television producer and content creator. We're going through the path now, and unfortunately we cannot feed the animals due to USDA regulations and policies.
So, that's a bummer because I was really looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, me too.
But
all right, Jennifer, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Take us through the beginning.
Well, I guess the best way to describe myself is I'm a Long Island, New York girl, born and raised. I grew up in the 70s on Long Island and came from a middle-class family. I had the privilege of being in a great community growing up, and I then I graduated high school in 1988. I know I'm old. We're stopping, by the way, because there's a zebra literally in front of the car, and he won't let me keep going. So
can't really move, unfortunately.
It's hilarious. But anyhow, so in the late 80s, I graduated high school, went to college, upstate New York, SUNY Cortland, go Red Dragons.
All right, go Dragons.
They just won the Division III football championships, national championships. So I'm very proud of them. Yes, and then I ended up working in New York City for 20 plus years. And making a career working in television, specifically music television. Yeah, at MTV.
MTV.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to MTV.
Yep.
Okay, so you mentioned MTV. So tell us a little bit about that. Dive into what did you do there? How was your experience?
I have to back up and explain a little bit. I had a brother growing up who's 7 years older than me. His name is TedD. And he ended up getting a job at MTV right in the heyday of MTV, like in the late 80s.
I'm gonna just hold this thing.
So he started working at MTV in the late 80s, and I was in high school at that time. So you can imagine, like, that was when MTV launched, and it was the most revolutionary thing in television. I know it's hard to understand or relate to that now because technology has come so far, and you don't need to watch music on television anymore. You can download it and do whatever you want, stream it. But so I was like the coolest kid in my grade because they were like, your brother works for MTV, you know? And he also was the co-creator of Yo MTV Raps, which was like this legendary hip-hop series on MTV that pretty much brought rap music out of the underground in the inner city and out to the suburbs across America. It was really, really monumental. So when I graduated, it was 1992, and I had no idea what I was going to do. Like, friends of mine, they had majors that, you know, they could be doctors, teachers, lawyers, things like that. Whoop, we got a little ram or a goat coming up on this car. Whoops. Yeah, I don't know if they can see out the window, but yeah, there's goats all over the place. I knew the Olympics were in Barcelona, Spain in 1992, the summer of 92, and I'm a huge sports fan, and I thought, well, they're in Barcelona. My major was Spanish, or my minor was Spanish, so maybe I should just go get to Spain, because I'd never gone there before. And I called up my brother, who was at MTV, and I said, is MTV covering the Olympics by any chance on the Music Channel? And he was like, not really. I mean, Yo was going there, of course, because Fab Five Freddy went everywhere. But he said, I know somebody at NBC. So, or actually someone through MTV connected me to someone at NBC. And I ended up getting a job as, what they call it, as a runner for the Olympics in Barcelona. That was the experience that made me go, wait a minute, I'm kind of good at like production. And what I mean by that, I was just a lowly runner. Like, I would go fetch things, I would go be the first person on the set to pick up like the craft service food for the crew and you know, all of that stuff. It was, you know, even like running and cleaning out the bathrooms too, like a lot of hands-on work like that. But it was incredible. It exposed me to, I just felt like I am good at this. Like I'm good at taking direction well and being proactive. And so by the time the Olympics were over, and by the way, that was the first time I'd ever been out of this country and traveled internationally. So, and I went by myself at like 22, which was terrifying, but it was well worth it. Water buffalo.
Yeah, water buffaloes
just
over there.
sunning themselves in the water. After that, I tried really hard to get a job in sports production because I thought, oh, well, I'm here at NBC and I'm good at what I'm doing, so surely I'll be able to get a job after this. Well, first lesson, very naive. There were no jobs to be had for people with my limited experience. I interviewed, I tried to go to everywhere from like CBS to ESPN to the NBA, the NFL, all kinds of stuff. And it just, I think it was a combination of a time where women weren't really taken super seriously in sports, you know, on the, whether it's behind the camera or in front of the camera. Oops to the camera. Oops to the camera.
Love, right?
Like, oh, so yeah, as I was saying, I tried interviewing in the sports world after the Olympics. Wasn't happening. I was really bummed out. And by the time September of '92 came, all my friends from college had gotten jobs, you know, and I'm sorry, I have to stop. There is a mama and her baby pigs. So sorry about that. I had to see the pigs. So all my friends had jobs. I was like, what am I going to do? And that's when I called my brother again. And I was like, hey, do you know if there are any openings at MTV? Because my other passion is music. But I always thought that was TedD's thing. And I wasn't going to do it. But I was nervous. I needed to get a job. And the funny thing was the person that referred me to NBC needed an assistant at MTV. And so I came and ended up working for her, and her name was Sally Fertini. Shout out to Sally Fertini.
Okay, Sally Fertini.
Yeah, she was my first big mentor in this business. Unbelievable. Yeah, I learned a ton from her. So that's how I fell into television, was kind of by accident. I mean, I thought I was going to be going to Spain because why not? I learned all these things about Spain, and in working at the Olympics, that kind of made me like passionate about doing this thing. So that's how I got started at MTV, at least.
Your favorite things that you did in the industry?
Most recent thing that I've done in the last couple of years happened during the pandemic. And it was also for the Video Music Awards, but this time I was brought on to just produce because we couldn't do a production like the way we normally could because of the pandemic. I was assigned to produce all the performances that were happening in New York. We had stuff in New York, we had stuff in LA, because people were like doing their performances in sound stages for quarantine. It was really crazy. It was the weekend performing Blinding Lights, and he wanted to perform from the roof of a building in New York City so that you could capitalize from the skyline. Yeah. And we went to this, back then it was a new building called The Edge. And they have like these glass windows on the side of the building, or plexiglass, where you could stand in front of and see the entire skyline, kind of like what like the Empire State Building does. So what happened was, we're the last performance to pre-tape. Everything was being pre-taped and then assembled in an edit the day before the show aired, up until the day the show was airing. And we happened to be the last performance, which was not good, because that meant we were the last one to shoot, which meant we had to turn around our content quicker to get to the beginning of the show. So we partner with the Edge building people. They were fantastic. I look at the weather report the day that we're shooting. Now, mind you, we have tons of lights on the ground, on the roof. We have a huge jib arm camera. tons of steady cam cameras, all this stuff. We had helicopters with a camera hovering around the building. And we had a barge on the Hudson River full of fireworks that had to go off precisely at a specific time in the song. And we only got one shot. Because because New York City was like, listen, you're taking up space in the Hudson River for something like this is an active river with like motorway. So we literally had like a 10-minute window to knock it out. So I checked the weather report. Okay. Thunderstorms coming. Tricky. Around the time we're shooting at night, because we had to do it at night because that's the whole point of the song. So long story short, we had torrential downpours and thunder and lightning over the city, like bolts of lightning. And it was like an hour before we were supposed to go. And everyone's running to me going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And the Weeknd and his team were like, what are we going to do? Because if we can't shoot it tonight, that's it. Then we're not in the show. Right. So I was like, I literally had to dig deep into my soul at that moment, because I was like, it's great being an executive producer, but it's also terrifying because you're the one running the set. And everyone's looking to you for answers. And I just said to myself, go with your gut. What should we do? And I was like, you know what? We're going to move forward as if we're shooting. And if it's thundering and lightning when we go to do it, then we'll shut it down. But we gotta give it a chance, because we'd spent a lot of money on this thing. And a lot of manpower and a lot of stuff. And of course my boss is calling me going, what's going on? Is everything okay? And I'm like, I'll let you know in an hour. I don't know. So anyway, thank the gods in heaven, the universe, however you want to say, they looked favorably upon us, and literally the rain stopped. We cued the helicopters to come from the heliport in the city. They took them 5 minutes to fly over. Got the Weeknd standing by, everyone in place, barge standing by. Oh my God, okay, it doesn't look like we're having rain for 20 minutes, let's go. And we shot it twice. Once was a rehearsal without the firework thing shooting off, and then the second time we nailed it, and we got it 100% perfect. Wow. And we got him inside before the rain started again. I was like, I think that was the biggest accomplishment I've ever done in my career, just because the odds were stacked against us, and the fact that the show aired and all the performers passed their COVID tests. I mean, people were coming down with COVID on site and had to leave, and I mean, it was chaos. But I'll tell you, as anxious as it made me and as stressful as it was, it really proved to me that if you're good at what you do and you work with, I didn't do it, they did it. I oversaw it. Everyone from the camera people to the director Lauren Quinn, shout out to you for directing. It was like unbelievable. They made it happen. And that's why I love being part of a team. I love being a part of a production, because it's the team that makes something good. You don't make something good by yourself. I don't care how good you are. Right. And that's something that I'm really proud of. Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting into the remake of Yo MTV Raps. How was that experience for you, taking it over?
That's a loaded question, because if you had to be there for the original Yo, the original Yo was so monumental and so important to Black culture and to hip hop that when my boss at MTV had said to me, because I was working on the international side as well as the side on the US, when he said to me, we're going to bring back Yo MTV Raps because we're hearing that our viewers are craving nostalgia and they want like the Real World and the Road Rules remakes and all that. So we're going to do that with the music side too. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, yes, I have to be the one to do it, because it was TedD's. Yeah. And like literally as it sunk in, I started to get absolutely terrified, because I thought, how am I going to possibly pull this off? Because it's for a new generation who probably doesn't know anything about the original. And yet there's going to be the people who were my age watching, the new remake, who are going to critique it because it's not as good as the old one, So I thought, you've put yourself in a no-win situation, because you can't, that was a moment in time to never be had ever again. And you can't possibly remake that. Part of my journey has also been battling mental health issues. And I didn't even realize it was mental health issues while it was happening. I know it now. But my anxiety and my feeling of I'm not as good as TED. I'm not as creative as TED. So I'm not going to do as good a job. I'm going to this up. I'm going to, it's going to be a mess. And then I'm going to get fired. Like all of that stuff, like fed into this like really dark thing inside of me. So I struggled a lot, and it was only because, again, the people I hired. And I guess in hindsight, if I can look at something that is a strength of mine, it's I know how to put a really great team together. I will say that I can put a good team together, and because I put a lot of work into making sure that the team is the right type of person, because there's so many egos and so many fake people and so many whatever that I don't have time for that, and I don't want my staff to be like that. So I one of my really great friends, Esteban Serrano, I brought him on to be the creative director, and he was like, I've always wanted to work on Yo if it was a remake, so this is a dream of mine. And we've got another animal swinging by to say hi. So I brought Esteban on, and my other he's my brother from another, Set Free Richardson, and they, plus Holland West, which was the production company, and those guys are amazing, brought this to life and took all the things that I wanted as a priority, and they made it happen. And I, short sidebar, during the shoot was amazing. We had we shot in Los Angeles, and it was wonderful. We had great talent, and we had some elements of nostalgia, but then we had some stuff that was unique to this generation. But when I got home and the rough cuts were starting to come out, I looked at a rough cut and I immediately got paralyzed, and that dark, you're not good enough part of me came out and said, this is awful. This is awful. How could you think this is good? And any other show, I would know that's a rough cut. Like, you got a long way to go before it's final. Like, give it time. I immediately went to, you up. So I ended up having to take a leave. It was a whole thing. While I was on leave, the team, who was amazing, kept going, delivered everything. And at the end of the summer, they sent me, there was a bonus episode that we did that was supposed to just be like a precursor for the rest of the episodes. It was supposed to just show everyone, like, this is what the Yo MTV Raps brand is. This is what it was, why it was so huge. This is why we're bringing it back, kind of thing. And they went and created this episode, and I had no supervision over it because I was on leave, like I said. And they sent it to me while I was away, and it brought me full circle, because it turned out that they basically were, in doing all of that, they brought up TED, and they pulled footage of TED talking about Yo MTV Raps from previous stuff, and then they talked about me, and suddenly it became the episode was about TED and me, kind of like, which normally I would be like, oh, that's awful, don't do that, oh, I don't like that stuff. But I needed it, the timing of it was so incredible, because I was hurting so bad that I looked at that and I went, if you ever doubt your abilities again, like, you got to watch this episode, because it was just incredible. And it just brought me, that in itself was its own crazy journey. And it took me a lot of work to kind of say, you know what, I do deserve to do this. I'm part of the legacy, and absolutely. And who else to do? I don't want anyone else to do it, right?
I think it's only right that you took that over and made it, upgraded it, and still you made it your own in a way.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I left most of the creative ideas to the team that I hired because it was very important to me that I had a very diverse team across the board, and a team who loved hip hop and who lived hip hop culture. Because I wanted it to be 1,000% authentic. Because I knew if you're not going to be real, the hip hop community will bury you.
Yeah.
And that was a whole other level of like panic for me, right? Like, what's this white girl? And her brother was white, and he did like that's the whole other weird thing. And it became like a fun joke, like here's Jen, this white girl from suburban Long Island, and here's TED. And they did this, I didn't create it, they did this show. And the funny part about that is we were in love with rap music. Why rap? Why hip hop? Like, why you? White girl, Long Island, suburban, because when I was little, I listened to like pop music. I was a pop kid. Yeah. But both of us went to a summer camp. It was a sleepaway camp on Long Island called Camp DeWolf. Long story short, it was run by the Episcopal Diocese of Long Island, which basically is Long Island, Brooklyn, and Queens. Yep. And every summer, kids who belonged to churches in the diocese, a lot of them went to this camp, including my brother and I. And it was an opportunity for people from completely different backgrounds to not just meet, but live together. Yeah. Like, you want to talk about the real world. That was the real world before the real world. But it was real, like it was true. And what we realized is we had more similarities than differences. And the differences didn't scare us. They fascinated me. Like I was obsessed with like everything from the fashion to, and then I heard Run DMC.
Yep.
And Houdini and like all these other, earlier artists. And I was like, what is this? This feels good. This feels like me. And so TED, over the years, from our influence of meeting kids from Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island that were kids of color that didn't look like us, we were privileged enough to learn about their experience and celebrate their contributions and the culture's contributions. And not only that, we fell in love with it. Like, I was like, I had my hair braided. Now I know it's appropriation and I shouldn't have done that. I was 10 years old, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, I wanted my hair braided. I wanted to have the jellies, and I wanted to have the boombox, and all of that stuff. So it at a very early age for Ted and I became part of our DNA. And that's what kind of inspired him later on to say, when he was at MTV, which was predominantly a rock and pop channel at the time, there were no black faces on MTV, no black voices.
So Raps was the
was the first. I think the only artist that was on MTV that was black was Michael Jackson, and Herbie Hancock did Rocket. And so you can imagine, like, for not just for people who love rap music and hip hop culture, to see people like themselves on TV. Camp DeWolf, that was the inspiration for MTV Raps.
We had to switch positions a little bit because we were smelling poop the whole ride, so it was giving me a headache.
Even though the windows were up.
Though the windows up, the AC, the outside was coming through the vents, and it's a lot of that's gonna be blooped out. I think kids watch the show. So
oh, sorry, I cursed before.
No, it's okay. Where you like to see your career go in the next few years?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm at an interesting time in my life right now where I recently relocated from New York to New Jersey and now to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm really, like, I'm in my 50s now, so I'm kind of like, what do I want to do? Do I want to try something new? Right now, I'm freelancing and I'm working for Southern Entertainment, who are awesome. They're an event
company that do music events all down North Carolina, South Carolina, Jersey, all around. And I'm working with them for the summer, helping out with some of their live events, which is great because it keeps me in music, which is my passion, and events, which I love, but it's not television. So, but I already thought, I'm like, I'm going to ask them if they want to stream this, get in the streaming business, because if they do, then I can maybe pitch myself.
Oh yeah, you can pitch yourself.
You hear that, Bob Durkin? Stand by. But yeah, I'm looking to do things that really fulfill my soul at this time in my life. Yeah. And my career up till now has been unbelievably wonderful. I'm so lucky and thankful for that. But it also takes a toll. Like, it's not an easy business, you know? And, you know, my lifestyle wasn't good. I didn't eat well, and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And now I'm really at the point where I'm like, I want to start taking care of my body better. Right. I want to take care of my mind, make sure my mental health stays okay. Yeah. But I still want to do stuff in music, you know, and I would still love to create content. Like, I love that you're creating content, and you've got your own show on YouTube. It's amazing. Like, that excites me. So I'm not done yet with content, but I don't really know yet where I'm headed. If it involves music and possibly hip hop culture, possibly mental health, and possibly animals, then I'm interested.
So where can the people find you? This going to be social media or any type of work portfolio you have online?
It's so funny because for years I have wanted to have my own little production company entity, but I never really prioritized it. And I just I had opened it and then I paused it, and now I just reopened it. So my company is Demi Media Group. And so I'm in the beginning, though. I don't have a website yet. I'm just starting to fire that up. But I'm on.
Keep that in mind, people.
Yeah, Demi. Probably, this is showing my age again. Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, I probably should be on Instagram, and I have an Instagram account. I just can't toggle between like my emails and my social. It's too much. At some point, I have to be like, I gotta not be on my phone. You know. Yeah. So for now, I mean, you could Google me and some probably random weird video will show up from some bad interview or something. I don't know. But yeah, look out for Demi. I'm hopefully going to put a website together and get that up and running and filter some projects through that.
All right, people, stay tuned for Demi coming soon. That concludes My Type of People, and stay tuned for next episode. Peace.
Go now. You're going to bite my real quick. Oh my God.